Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Crista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we're going to be continuing our discussion around reimagining your business. And I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes and sharing a little bit about how I'm approaching things, what it really looks like and means for the business, and also my lessons learned, because there are many. And hopefully, if you're going through something similar or helping your clients through something similar, these will end up being useful and helpful for you as well. So before we dive in today, let's do a little bit of a recap on the first part of this multi-part series. I have gotten such great feedback on that episode, so thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate the reviews. I appreciate all the great messages and comments. And if you have not yet had an opportunity to listen to that, head back to episode 67. I actually recommend that you listen to that before you listen to this one. In that episode, I shared how to know if it's time to reimagine your business and to get ready for that next major up level. And I also walked through a series of questions that you can ask yourself, including the primary question that I ask all of my private clients when they are ready to make big, bold business moves, when they're ready to reimagine, and when they're ready for their next up level. And this is the same question that I started off this whole journey with asking myself. And that is, if you were to start a business from scratch tomorrow, you could bring with you all of your experiences, all of your skills, all of your knowledge that you've accumulated so far in your business, but nothing else. What would you do and how would you do it? And so what I love so much about this question is going into things with a blank slate. Instead of going in with the current baggage and current commitments of everything that you already have in place in your business, your current team, your current systems, your current offers, your current business model. This gives you the freedom and flexibility to think about things from a blank slate, but you have the benefit of all of your knowledge and experience and everything that you've gained so far in your business. So this is where I started. And when I asked myself this question, there was a lot that came up. Right. I'm sure, like me, you're probably someone who's multi-passionate and multifaceted. Most of the people in my community are. There's so many different directions I could go, and there's so many things that I could pursue that I enjoy and that I feel like are in alignment with my zone of genius. I had no shortage of ideas, and like most visionary leaders, every idea feels like it's just as good and just as important as the last one. And I'm sure that you can probably relate to that as a visionary leader yourself. But in the spirit of running a lean business, realistically, you can't do all the things and you can't do all the things all the time. So it doesn't really matter how great of an idea something is. You have to make decisions about what is actually most important right now and what realistically can you do based on the capacity that you have and how much that you want to work in this particular season of your business and your life. So that's what I did. And I found that I really relied pretty heavily on the lean out method throughout the entire process. I joke that I use the lean out method to lean out the lean out method, which I really did. It's, if you think about the 4 pillars of the lean out method: context, clarity, commitment, Kaizen, I walked through every single one of those. I started off by getting really clear on my next level vision and goals and reimagining my business model to be in alignment with that next level. That's the context pillar of lean out method. Then I dove into the strategic plan. So what does it look like to actually implement some of these changes? What does that transition look like? How do I move from what I have today to this vision of what I want tomorrow? And this is what I'm currently in the middle of executing right now. So you'll be seeing a lot of these changes and a lot of these things that I'll walk you through today kind of appearing and getting put into place over these next couple months. To sort through all of my many different ideas, I used one of the tools inside our Simplify to Scale Business Accelerator, which is called the $1 Million Idea Evaluator. And that really helped me decide where to start and where to focus and weed through all of the different ideas that I had, because there were many. So I worked through several different iterations of business models and offers. And at the end of the day, where I landed is really close to what I have today, but just that next level of what I have today. As I shared in the last episode, I looked at my business on a scale of 0% to 100% to see how much I felt like it was really in alignment with that next level vision that I have, how much it was fulfilling. And I felt like on that scale of 0 to 100%, I was at about 85%, right? And that sounds pretty solid. And when I look around me at so many of my peers and so many others, 85% in comparison is really pretty good. But at the end of the day, 85% still isn't 100%. And if I stay at 85%, I'm settling for less than 100%. And so often I feel like we settle in our business. Sometimes it's in really big ways. Sometimes it's in little ways that add up over time. And when I look back to that first period of reimagining my business that I did in June of last year, I feel like at that point, I really took things in my business from good to great. I made that major shift in target market and who I was working with. And I took what was a really good, really profitable, really enjoyable to an extent business and took it to an absolute great business, working with the people that I really wanted to work with. So at this point, when I'm looking at things and taking things from 85% to 100%, this is really taking things from great to exceptional. And I think we all deserve to have an exceptional business. And I think we tell ourselves sometimes that we don't. I think we look around us and we see other businesses and we see other people really struggling. And we see other people in all these places that make us feel like we should be really grateful for what we have. And yes, we absolutely should be grateful for what we have. It doesn't matter whether we're currently struggling, whether we're currently on top of the world with our business. You should always have a spirit of gratitude for everything from the hardest lessons to the biggest wins. But it still doesn't mean that you have to settle for anything less than 100% alignment and 100% fulfillment. So that's where I was. And this is what it ended up looking like in the business as I started to put this into practice and really started to reimagine things. It came down to one simple word, and that is no. I said no a lot. I turned down and walked away from several contracts, some which were huge multi-six-figure contracts. I said no to private clients and stopped working with them. I said no to team members and made some changes. I said no to people who applied to my mastermind and people who applied to my group programs. I said no to a lot of my ideas. Even though they were great ideas, they weren't the best ideas. I ultimately said no to everything that felt heavy or not 100% in alignment, because I knew I needed to create space, both physically and mentally, for that next up level. And I will say it's really been a combination of both really freeing and slightly terrifying, all at the same time, all rolled into one, right? It felt really freeing to have such a much more open schedule and to really just feel like there's endless possibility ahead of me. There's so many different things I can do, and I get the freedom of picking which direction I want to go and doing the things that feel 100% in alignment and 100% fulfilling. That's an amazing and very freeing feeling. But on the flip side, it's also a little terrifying to cut off major revenue streams and walk away from really big deals, and to feel like I was disappointing or upsetting people by not accepting them into my programs or telling them that I wasn't going to continue working with them, even though I knew without a doubt that it was absolutely the right decision, not only for myself, but also for them. And so I really had to commit to choosing not to settle, even if it was terrifying at times, and even if there were times where it was quite the mental journey. So here's what this means practically within my business. I have 3 businesses. As you know, I have Crista Grasso, which is my jewelry business. I have the Profitable Planner Co., where I help people take their signature offer and that thing that they're known for and turn it into a physical printed planner, workbook, or journal to help scale their business. And then I have the Lean Out Method. I knew that I needed all of my focus to be on Lean Out Method. So for all intents and purposes, I put the other 2 businesses on hold. They're still running. There's still stuff going on in them, but it's very little of my time and energy right now. So I can stay 100% laser focused on Lean Out Method. I reimagined my entire business model from my offers to my pricing, to my team, and to my investments. I leaned out my offers, cutting some entirely, combining others, and up-leveling others. I reimagined my systems for sales and marketing to focus more on organic marketing efforts and referrals in the business. There were some things in the business that I was really excited about, but waiting to release until my book published. And I decided that I'm not going to wait. I'm going to integrate those into what I'm doing now instead of holding off for the book. And I'm really just up-leveling my entire brand and embracing my lean and agile expertise and background in integrating that more into what I do to really differentiate myself more from so many other business strategists that are out there. And as I was going through all of the different activities and brainstorming that I was doing, I think one of the biggest realizations that I had is that it's time to really serve a more targeted market. I love working with people who are really self-driven, who are action takers, who are really brilliant and exceptional at what they do. And they just need that outside-in perspective from a business strategist that will help them to take what they do and dramatically amplify their results, while at the same time getting rid of all of the things that are just noise, distractions, and all of that unnecessary complexity and waste in their business. That is something that I absolutely love to do. That's the kind of work that really fuels me. And in order to do this and do this really well, I need to dig pretty deep into someone's business where I can and have worked with businesses at many different levels. But my sweet spot is that established business that's already making multi-6 to multi-7 figures and is working with them to take what they do, their expertise, their brilliance, and put the wrapper of strategy, planning, systems, and team around it that will help them to actually scale sustainably so they can stop working so flipping much and actually get to enjoy the success that they worked so incredibly hard to achieve. So as I took the time to get really crystal clear on who it is that I love working with the most and on what I do best, which is that really deep transformational work, I decided to shift some of my offers and some of how I'm going to be working with people so that I can go much deeper, which means I'll be working with less people, but at a higher rate. And at the same time, I want to create experiences and options for people who aren't yet ready to make that kind of investment in themselves from either a financial, a time, or even just a mindset perspective. Maybe they're not fully ready to step into that next level of themselves. So you're going to see some really premium offers, and you're going to see some options for people to do some self-implementation to really get things moving forward. So stay tuned, a lot more to come there. And just a quick side note, if you've been wanting to work with me privately, whether that's for a VIP strategy day or for a more extended 90-day, 6-month, or year-long experience, I encourage you to go in and schedule a call with me really soon so that you have the opportunity to actually lock in my current rates and packages, or we can chat about some of the new opportunities that are available as well. And you can do that at scalingstrategycall.com. So that's just a little bit of insight into what's going on behind the scenes here at Lean Out Method and what it looks like to reimagine a business. So before we wrap up here, I want to share with you what some of my biggest lessons learned to date have been. The first is that reimagining is not easy at all, but it is absolutely necessary. This is something that I've done myself a lot throughout my entrepreneurial journey, something that I help my clients with quite often. So I'm no stranger to the ups and downs that come with doing this type of reimagining in your business. It takes a serious, serious commitment. The third pillar of the Lean Out Method is commitment, and I included commitment as one of the pillars for a reason. Because when we make a decision in our business, whether it's to launch something new, whether it's to reimagine our business, whether it's to lean something out and let go of something, we need to fully commit to it and not let the mindset gremlins, the self-doubt, guilt, any of those other things influence us and either stop us in our tracks or cause us to abandon the thing that we said we were going to do and revert back to something that's not in alignment for our next level. I don't know if you're an Indiana Jones fan. I always used to love Indiana Jones. But I felt like this entire journey so far felt like the last crusade where he took the leap of faith and stepped out onto the invisible bridge. It was very much about making hard decisions. It was about taking these wild leaps and really just trusting that it was going to work out and that these are the right decisions to make, even in the midst of cutting off revenue streams and saying no to these big opportunities. It's trusting and knowing that this is the right decision and that it's going to work. And I have the benefit of having done this, as I shared many times before, and it always works itself out. Doesn't always work itself out in the way that you think it's going to, but it always works itself out. So this was not the first time I made really tough decisions and wild leaps in my business, and I am sure it will not be the last time, but it does take that commitment to move forward. One of the other big lessons learned, which is an extension, is really just trusting in yourself and not listening to other people or outside influences. And that can be really challenging to do sometimes. And I shared, I really felt like my business was at about 85% out of 100. I'm really proud of the way that I run my business. I run my business really lean, but luxe. I have a great team. I love my offers. I constantly lean things out and constantly take the time to reflect to make sure that things are in alignment and things are really fulfilling, which is why my business is at 85% instead of at 50 or 60%, like so many others are. But that being said, I knew that I didn't want to settle. I want that true, rich, fulfilled life in every single facet. And I want my business and my life experiences to be all out. I want to make the most of absolutely every single second that I have. And I know a lot of people could not understand why I was making changes in the business. And I think it's because we're so conditioned to feel like we need to pay a price for our success. This was a big theme that came up when we did our Lean Out Level Up retreat in January, was people thinking that they needed to pay a price for their success, either consciously or subconsciously. And it's almost like we believe that there have to be pieces of what we do that we hate, or that there have to be pieces that are really, really hard, or else we're doing something wrong. And I don't think that's the case. I think that we absolutely can have a business that we absolutely love. And I don't think that we need to pay a price for things, nor do we need to settle for anything. And although a lot of other people felt like 85% was more than good enough and I should just leave well enough alone, part of the lean out philosophy is doubling down on and amplifying what's working and letting go of and leaning out what isn't. So if you think about it in that context, why on earth would you keep around 15% of things that aren't working? So 85% might seem really great, but that's 15% of things that are out of alignment, things that aren't fulfilling, or things that aren't working that well. So why not have 100%? My final lesson learned is to get started right now. I shared that the catalyst for initially reimagining my business and making a lot of those changes last year was because of my journey with breast cancer and really just wanting to make the most of the time that I have and just feeling so fortunate and grateful that I'm now okay and that I'm now healthy and not wanting to waste that incredible opportunity. And then the second catalyst for reimagining my business was the loss of my dog Chewbacca in December. And as challenging as both of those experiences were, I'm grateful that they did cause me to really stop and question everything and look at what a rich, fulfilled life means to me and look at where I could still continue to close the gap and make things even better in both my business and in my life. What I would say to you, as I shared in the last episode, is that a lot of times we have these major life events, whether they're health diagnoses or loss of somebody close to us, or just really challenging experiences that we go through that cause us to question everything and to decide that we're no longer going to settle. Maybe you've had one of these experiences, but I hope that you haven't. And the really good thing is that you do not need to wait for an experience like that to make the commitment to change today. You can change today. You can choose to not settle today. If you look at your business on that scale of 0 to 100%, and you say, how aligned is my current business with my next level vision? How fulfilling is my current business? How much do I love what I do and the people that I work with and the people that I surround myself with? If you go through all those questions that I shared in the last episode and you come up with anything less than 100%, the time is now to go ahead and actually reimagine things. Hope that you've been enjoying this series. More to come as we further reimagine things. And if you are in a place where it's time to reimagine your business, I'd love to support you. You can put time on my calendar at scalingstrategycall.com or head on over to leanoutmethod.com/retreat and get on our priority notification list because we are bringing our in-person retreat back. And our theme this year is going to be reimagine. So the details will be coming your way as soon as we have them. But if you want to be the very first to know when that comes up, go ahead and get on the priority notification list at leanoutmethod.com/retreat. Hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. I will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.